Why is SAP so hard to learn? Almost everyone who has ever worked with SAP has asked this question at some point. You attend training sessions, you read documentation, you watch tutorials, and still it feels overwhelming. You follow the steps, but you don't really understand what's happening underneath. You click the right buttons, but one small mistake suddenly affects 5 different areas. And after a while, it starts to feel like SAP is complicated for no good reason. In this video, I want to explain why SAP feels so hard, and more importantly, why that difficulty is not a design flaw. It's actually a feature. If you've ever felt frustrated working with SAP, this video is for you. Hi, I'm Ben. On this channel, Ben explains enterprise systems. I explain how systems like SAP actually work in real companies, not as tutorials, but from a business and finance perspective. Let's start with the most obvious question and elephant in the room. Why does SAP feel so much harder than most other softwares? The first reason is simple, but often overlooked. SAP is not a single system. Most of the softwares we use every day is designed to do one thing well. A finance tool focuses on accounting. A CRM focuses on sales and customers. And a reporting tool focuses on analytics. SAP is different. When you work in SAP, you are not just using one application. You are interacting with finance, logistics, procurement, sales, controlling, and reporting, all at the same time. That alone already makes SAP fundamentally different from most systems people are used to. The second reason SAP feels hard is that it forces you to think in processes. In many tools, you can experiment freely. You click around, try different options, and still get something useful. SAP does not work like that. In SAP, if you don't understand the underlying business process, the system simply doesn't make sense. Then you start asking questions like, why can't I post this entry? Why is this document blocked? And why does one transaction suddenly affect multiple reports? But what SAP really asking is this: do you understand what this action represents in the real business? And if you don't, the system feels rigid and confusing. Then there comes the part that many people miss. SAP does not feel hard because it's poorly designed. It feels hard because it's designed for organizations, not individuals. This is a very important distinction. Think about Excel for a moment. Excel is flexible, personal, and forgiving. 2 people can build completely different spreadsheets, and that's perfectly fine. SAP is the opposite. SAP is standardized, it is controlled, and it is auditable. SAP is not optimized for convenience. It is optimized for consistency and accountability. And that difference makes many people uncomfortable. Most people learn systems by experimenting, but SAP does not reward experimentation. It rewards discipline. That's why finance users often feel constrained, business users feel blocked, and the new learners feel lost. Not because they are incapable, but because SAP is asking them to think like an organization, not like an individual. Now, here's the take. The same thing that makes SAP difficult to learn is exactly what makes it valuable to companies. In an enterprise environment, mistakes cost money, inconsistencies create risk, and the lack of control leads to compliance issues. SAP is designed to slow you down on purpose. It makes sure that data stays consistent, processes are enforced, and responsibilities are clear. In other words, SAP trades individual efficiency for organizational reliability. This is also why SAP has survived for decades. Not because it is easy, but because it scales with complexity. As companies grow, spreadsheets break, ad hoc tools fail, and manual controls collapse, SAP survives because it was built for that level of complexity from day one. So when SAP feels hard, that does not mean you are failing. It simply means you are dealing with a system designed for enterprise reality, not personal convenience. The moment you stop asking, why is SAP so complicated, and start asking, what business reality is SAP enforcing here, the system begins to make sense. Before we wrap up, I want to bring everything together with this simple map. What we talked about today really comes down to 4 ideas. SAP is not a single tool, it is an integrated enterprise system. It forces process thinking, not just button clicking. It's designed for organizations, not individuals, and it deliberately trades speed for reliability, consistency, and scale. If SAP has ever felt frustrating or overwhelming to you, this diagram is meant to give you a different way to think about it. Feel free to save it, and if you know someone who's struggling with SAP or has the same feeling, it might be helpful to share. Sometimes, understanding the structure changes how the system feels. In future videos, I will explain what SAP actually does inside a company, and how finance really fits into SAP, and how enterprise systems should be understood beyond tutorials. If you want to understand enterprise systems instead of just memorizing steps, welcome to Ben's Explains Enterprise Systems.